Yeah. Oh, it's a little ambitious, but maybe we could do the Lion King in here. Oh, that was just what we needed. Thank you so much, John. I was sensing that we had some Olympics hangovers going on in here. Maybe a little less sleep than usual for a lot of us. So, in keeping with John's opening here, I'd like to start the message this morning by setting the biblical record straight. Here's what really happened when God created men and women. See, God made Adam and placed him in the Garden of Eden, where he was surrounded by all the good things of the earth. But after a little while, God could see that Adam was not completely happy, and he said, "So what's the matter, Adam?" "I'm lonely," Adam replied. "I need company." "Oh, okay," God said. "I'm going to give you the perfect helpmate. We'll call her woman. Beautiful, intelligent, gracious. She'll cook and clean for you and never say a cross word." "Sounds fabulous," Adam replied, "but what's she going to cost?" "An arm and a leg, I'm afraid," God said. "Whom," thought Adam. "Excuse me, God," he said, "but what can I get for a rib?" So, as you can see, the trouble between men and women really started there, and it was because Adam was cheap. Okay, I got it? All right, so there you go. All right, hey, come on, let's face it. And the beat goes on. You know, a few years ago, I received a thank you note from a bridegroom whose wedding ceremony I had performed the previous week. And he wrote this. I'll never get this. He wrote, "I want to thank you, Reverend, for the beautiful way you brought my happiness to a conclusion." And I thought, did he really mean it that way? Maybe he did. Because come to think of it, I overheard the ushers at the beginning of the wedding, asking the visitors as they arrived, whose side are you on? Right? So, okay. And I had a sign because the week before the wedding, I went into one of those church stores to buy a little gift for the bride and groom. And I noticed that on the half-price table, there was this lovely little statue of a man and a woman, and they were looking so lovingly at one another. And I thought it would make a great gift until I noticed that the statue was marked "Damaged. Wife is coming unglued." But it's not just newlyweds who struggle. Just the other day, I saw this ad in the classifieds, for sale. A complete 25-volume set of the Encyclopedia Britannica, latest edition, never used, Wife Knows Everything. Okay, so intimacy. If we can't laugh, we're in trouble. Remember the last time you embarked on a new relationship? All the world looked brighter, and your time together was filled with lightness and laughter and fun. Love thrives in that atmosphere, and it thrived for you, and your love grew and deepened. For some, it led to long-term commitment. Some even decided to get married, and then the real fun began. Career pressures, money problems, sexual difficulties, personality differences, communication issues. Many, not satisfied with having this much fun, decided to have kids and entered into a whole new level of fundraising. At some point, most fell off their pink cloud with a resounding thud. Eventually, those rose-colored glasses became so clear, they began seeing their partners with excruciating mental clarity. And it nearly broke their heart. What happened to the joy? What happened to the romance? This is a crucial crossroad, and every couple gets there sooner or later. But this is the point where both begin the work of learning what real love is, or their relationship begins to fall apart. If partners do not pay attention at this point, they can begin the habit of making their relationship a dumping ground for all their negative feelings, all the stresses of their life, stresses that come from outside the relationship and from inside the couple. Carolyn Mace talks about how often people seem to bond through their woundedness. This may be true, but the point is to encourage each other to heal. You and I do not need our relationships with life partners, children, or friends that are dumping grounds. In this complex, stressful world, what we really need is a haven where we can regain our perspective and our balance. We need our essential relationships to be places of emotional safety where we can tell the truth and be ourselves without fear of rejection. Where there is at least as much listening as there is speaking. Now, certainly at this point in my life, I'm not unrealistic. I know as well as you do that not all relationships can or should be saved. Some issues and wounds go so deep that it's really best for both people to go apart and heal individually. But something I've learned is that couples who stay in love year after year, and friends who stay connected through it all and loyal to one another, are not simply fortunate. They have, time after time, made the choice to nurture their relationship rather than dump pressure on it. They've been very intentional about feeding their love with prayer and respect and honest, heart-centered communication and humor. Laughter comes in many sizes and forms, from great belly laughs to gentle smiles. Some friends and partners seem to have the ability to see the comedy in life's ironies, to find the joy in their own and each other's foibles, to smile with compassion for the human condition they both share. They seem to have given up trying to control or change one another, and by doing so have reclaimed a huge amount of energy which they can now use for romance and play and study and adventure. Life's left hooks will always keep coming. But some couples and friends seem to have mastered the art of making molehills out of mountains. What makes us take ourselves so seriously anyway? Perhaps we're just too smart for our own darn good. We think we know how things ought to be. We have an opinion about everything, which we do not hesitate to share. This is right, and this is wrong, and this is how my boss ought to behave, and this is what husbands and wives should do, and this is what I expect from my kids. You know the ritual. We analyze and judge one another until the juice is squeezed completely out of the love. They say that men marry women hoping they'll never change, and women marry men hoping they will. Either way, it's a recipe for disaster. It's not easy to give up being so smart in this psychologically astute age. I'm thinking of the wisdom story about the two eminent psychologists who traveled halfway around the world to ask the Dalai Lama what he thought about their theories on human behavior. When they arrived, he kindly brought them out into his beautiful garden and poured them tea. But he poured, and soon those two little cups were full and overflowing, but still he poured. One of the psychologists couldn't help himself and politely said, "Your Holiness, the cups can hold no more." To which the Dalai Lama said, "Your minds are like those cups. You know too much. Empty your mind and come back, and then we'll talk." This powerful lesson really came home to me in an interaction with my son John a few years ago. Soon after arriving at his home, I began my usual thing, which was asking lots of questions. Yeah, I know. How was he doing? How was his job going? How were he and Jessica getting along? How were the kids doing? Looking back, I can see that I was scanning for trouble. I was the MRI of mothers. I noticed that John was giving me 1- and 2-word answers, but that did not stop me at all. It only made me more intent on my mission because I figured he was hiding something. Are you with me, any parents? All right. Finally, in a frustrated tone of voice, John says to me, "Mom, can't you just lighten up? Can't you just chill out? Don't you know how to hang out?" Well, I've got to admit, my feelings were a little bit hurt. After all, I explained I was only trying to show how much I care about you all and your life. And then our eyes locked, and we both just cracked up. Instantly, my hurt was gone, and the air cleared. I guess it's true what they say, that laughter is the shortest distance from the head to the heart. In that moment, too, John's and my relationship was set on new footing. I began to reflect, and I realized that my job with my adult children was no longer to help them, unless, of course, they asked me for something specific. All I needed to do in our time together was enjoy them, to laugh and play with them, to share dreams with them. And I realized that John did not want my knowledge. He did not want my mothering anymore, not usually. He wanted my friendship. He wanted my heart. And I truly believe that's what most couples and friends want from each other as well. But here's the thing. Humor, especially in the midst of relationship tension, is only possible when we are willing to let go of all our judgments, opinions, and expectations, worries and fears. It is an expression of our willingness to accept life and each other just as they are. Laughter releases tension and restores balance. Laughter, sometimes through tears, I got to admit, is an act of faith and courage. When we know God is in charge, we don't have to be on duty. Committed relationship is not easy. It keeps us humble and aware of our need for God's help. To find humor in our own intensity and self-importance, stubbornness and insecurity, is to place our friendship in the arms of God and know that we are right where we're supposed to be, learning what we came there to learn. And you know, even if a relationship should change form through some sort of separation, there can be faith-filled, perhaps bittersweet laughter, joy for what has been, celebration of each other's freedom, excitement for where love will take us next. In fact, all close partners and friends could benefit from learning about healthy separation, otherwise known as detachment. Letting go of Sep, of my kids, of my friends, even you guys, is a daily exercise in faith for me. I find balance, that delicate tension between connection and separation, intimacy and detachment, is an art. It's a gentle dance with the universe. Now, every single one of us knows that communication, good communication, is the key to a healthy relationship. And in good communication, each person uses I statements, I feel or I want, rather than you statements. You know those you statements? Sepp always says, I can't stand the word you, and I understand why. You know, you made me feel this way, you made me say, you caused me to feel whatever I feel. But what I've noticed also is that in relationships and in conversations where feelings, true, authentic feelings are shared, even if they're sad or angry ones, there is usually growth and not damage. And should that conversation end in laughter full of compassion for our shared humanity, then that is the gold. Let's face it, we human beings are a trip. Put two or more of us together in one household and you've got the beginnings of the family circus. Reminds me of a family circus cartoon in which the boy and girl are standing watching their parents have an argument, and the boy is saying to the girl, "Home must be where people go when they're tired of being nice." Too often true, I'm afraid. Family life is demanding at best. I watch my sons and daughters-in-law raise their kids, work stressful jobs, maintain their homes and yards, and I wonder how they do it all. I forget that I once did it too. And I often encourage them to take time out as a couple, without the kids, without the grandkids, just the two of them to play. And I usually get lots of excuses about how hard it is to find the time to do that. But I've learned the hard way that there is no love that cannot be dried up by too much work, too much stress, and too little fun. Been there, done that. It's not disrespectful to laugh in the face of hard times, even tragedy. It's faith-filled and a gift to the world. There's a Chinese proverb I know you've heard me say, you cannot prevent the birds of sorrow from flying over your head, but you can prevent them from building a nest in your hair. We all lock horns with our partners, parents, kids, and friends sometimes. But even in the midst of it, there is fodder for humor. And the sooner we find it, the sooner we release ourselves from deadlock and get back to loving life and each other. And I know it took me a long time to learn, maybe it will you too. But spending even one day estranged from someone we love, just for the sake of being right? Really? Have you got a day of your life to waste? Marianne Williamson, in her book Enchanted Love, says, God wants us to be deeply, completely, and powerfully happy because happy people are effective problem solvers. They uplift others and help them heal. If your partner or friend or child or parent is happier today because of being with you, then know this, you have served the world. As usual, Brother Hafiz says it so well. And I know I've told you this before, but I just love it. So he's speaking to his beloved and he says, okay, my dear, we have stumbled enough in earth's sweet dance. We have paid all our dues many times. Now let's get down to the real reason why we sit and breathe together. Let's begin the laughing, the divine laughing, like the heroic woman and magnificent men we were created to be. And I say amen to that, sisters and brothers. And so it is. God bless you all.